Hey everybody, what's up? It's Mike here from The Art of Guitar. Lately I've been going down memory lane and trying to relearn some solos that I created back when I was about 15 or 16. And it's a lot of fun because back then I was a little bit crazier and I did things that I wouldn't do today. So I wanted to go back today and try to do a song that I did way back in 1992 with my band. And we're going to be releasing the full demo pretty soon so people can hear the song, the actual song. But when I listen to the solos, I'm like, wow, there's some crazy things in there that I probably wouldn't do today. And I wanted to see if I could, number one, learn it again, and number two, actually play it up to speed because it was pretty fast. So there are three sections where I do some solo or lead work, and I just wanted to show those to you today. Oh, also notice I'm wearing a shirt that I would have wore back then when I wrote this solo, so I thought it'd be appropriate to put it on today. Alright, so I could barely keep up with my old self, and I think that's kind of cool in a way. It's just like looking back and being like, man, I was on fire back when I was 16 because every day I was practicing, 6 to 8 hours. And so very challenging to try to keep up with my old self. I love it. I could tell I'm out of shred shape as far as playing my older solos because my forearm is burning right now. But it's really eye-opening and fun to go back. It's like a time machine or something like that, and just try to play these licks again. And this does coincide with me releasing the next demo, this song Fail to Be. So I'll be doing that in a few days. But for now, if you guys enjoy the solo, maybe try to learn some licks from it. And then when the full song comes out, it's going to be kind of extra exciting because you already know how to play some of it. Back when I was first starting lead guitar, I was really focusing on tapping because I love the sound of it, from Eddie Van Halen to Kirk Hammett, Randy Rhoads, all that. So I really love the idea of tapping to open strings and hammering on. So I was doing a lot of this kind of stuff. So I was sitting there messing around and I ended up doing this one time. I thought that's pretty cool. You could do the same tap on two strings back and forth. It sounds kind of different. And then I think I accidentally hit the other string once. I went, God, that's kind of weird. So I changed it a little bit. And I thought that sounded like a horror movie or something, like a soundtrack to Halloween or something. So I went, Then I just finished it with... Like, yeah, that sounds pretty cool. So I just looped that. And then my friend Al, we were starting to jam together, he started playing some power chords behind it, and it just worked out. So that became the intro to the song Fail to Be. Okay, so we were really happy with that intro. We just didn't know where to go after that. But Al ended up writing some really great riffs, and then the first solo actually kicks in pretty fast after the first chorus. So I think I was doing a lot of Alex Skolnick type licks back in the day, back when I wrote this, but I was doing a lot of slides. And I really love the sound of this. Also, I found out I did a lot of grace notes because I love going that kind of thing. I didn't really like just playing straight notes all the time. Probably a little bit of Kirk Hammett, Fade to Black influence on that for sure. Okay, so yeah, that's what I did in the beginning. I just played a lot of slides. Then I got to do a little rake here. I thought that was so exotic at the time. I don't know, I was probably very influenced by Megadeth. And then you could hear a lot of people's influences come through early on in their careers when they first start, because that's all you have. So I'm just like, a little bit of Skolnick, a little bit of Hammett, a little bit of Friedman. Let's throw it all together to see what happens. Okay, now this part. Very excited about that one because I actually had to practice that quite a bit to get it to be smooth. But it's just 2 strings. Played like that. It's fun to go back and forth and to roll your finger. It's a really good thing to practice. And then I realized after learning this again that I went back to this motif quite a bit. That was like my favorite thing to do for some reason. You ever have that lick that just feels right every time you play it? That's the one for me, but at least back then. Now this part gets crazy. It's really hard to do this up to speed for me right now, but I went like this. But if you play it up to speed with the song, it's so fast you could barely even think of what you're doing. You just have to feel it right. So I'm basically going like this. It's a cool circular pattern. It's a good thing to practice and a good way to warm up. And then I went into this legato where it's very Satriani-like. I went. The tricky part is muting around it so that you're able to do the legato, which by the way will really build up your hand, without any interference, because you really want it to come out clean when you're doing something like this. So the second solo, this is technically the second solo. The very first thing we did was just the intro. But the second solo begins with what we did in the intro, just a lot faster. Try to throw that back in there because I love the sound of it so much. So yeah, I started off with... And then I did this thing that's actually pretty hard to do. I'm going to tap and I'm going to separate my hands. That always tripped me up because I have to look at 2 places at once. So I kind of developed this like omni-vision during that part where I just sort of see both of them. Really in the end, you just want to feel it right, but at first you really have to do a lot of looking. Then here comes that motif that I kept running back to. See, it's pretty similar to the first one. It's funny, you don't realize you do these things until you look back sometimes. Then we go like this. And that's actually a sweep picking exercise that I think I learned from Paul Gilbert, one of his videos. And I just threw it in and I thought that just fits really well and it's fun to play. Back then I thought if it was fun to play it sounded good, but I guess this one sounds okay, but I may not have done that today. Now we do this big long walk down, and I didn't even know what scale I was in back then. I just thought, this sounds good. And I ended with a little trill. And now I'm going to tremolo pick and work my way back up, this time on the 3rd string, using notes that that sounded good. That end part's actually kind of tricky because I'm tremolo picking and then I have to walk up like this while trem picking. trickier than I thought it was going to be. Now for the part that, you know, it's just like explode with speed. Don't even really worry about exactly what you're doing. Because back then I was just like, I'm just going to go to town here. I took a C major scale and I did fours. So I went. Just a sequential thing I learned a long time ago in guitar lessons. And then I went into my auto legato mode. That's where my fingers just seem to do a certain pattern by itself. And I walked down and I came up like this. So really hard to explain that one. It took me a long time today to listen and slow it down and figure it out. But just go crazy, do some legato, just make sure you end up on this D note. So that's the one that sticks out the most. And the next part's kind of cool because it's like a sloppy pentatonic thing. And I'm sort of proud of that because back then I was trying so hard to be accurate on every note I did that here I just kind of went old school Judas Priest and I just went nuts on some pentatonic and it ended up sounding okay. Into a little bit of a Kirk Hammett circular pattern here. Ending with that bend. I like to do economy picking when I do that, so I do push, push, pull, or down, down, up, and it creates this great circular effect. Okay, more Metallica, ready? A lot of fade to black here. Speaking of the circular pattern, I use it here too. Little sweep. Then some bends. The end is very strange because after you do those really fast sweeps, you do the bends, and then I just did a trill and I ended off on the E note. So I went. It's really hard though to jump over to that E. Okay, everyone, thanks for continuing to be interested in these old teenage metal band songs and our old demos and live shows and everything like that. I know I'm just going through a phase right now where I'm sort of nostalgic, but I'll get past it, and I'm just glad I'm able to share it with you guys. So, all right, we'll catch you at the next lesson. Thanks.